is a podcast on how to grow on Twitch. If you're a Twitch streamer, if you're not a Twitch streamer, you can still learn a heck of a lot on how to grow in life because we have absolutely wonderful people in here and a very positive environment that you're able to take an introspective look into both of our minds and see what works for you, what doesn't. And I always say maybe you can learn a thing or two from this podcast, whether you're just a person trying to get through life or whether you're a Twitch streamer in general. This is still beneficial to each and every person that watches because it's an introspective look on not just a positive streamer, but a positivity mindset when it comes to individuality. If you can learn something or feel inspired, then at the end of the day, it's all worth it to me. First of all, hello, welcome everyone. Happy Saturday today. It's a wonderful day to have special guests on our show. It's our 10th episode today, based off of positivity, growth, and of course today, trophy hunting. Thank you for being a guest on our show. It really means a lot. Absolutely, absolutely. So we have the number one PS5 trophy holder in the world? Is that correct to say?
It used to be in the world. It is now just in the U.S. since I've finally made the choice after a year of being at the top to kind of ease off of it a little bit. So number one in the U.S., but not in the world anymore.
What got you into streaming in the first place?
I recently graduated college and started a job that I wasn't really in love with. And as it kind of went on and on, it kind of took a mental toll on me because it was pretty exhausting work. And I was part of a team that wasn't really the best for me, and were mostly people who were way above me and where I currently was with the company. And it was just kind of making me feel a little rough most days. So I figured, what's a productive thing I can do that would help me feel really, really positive mentally and give me personal growth goals that feel really obtainable to me and something that I can really care about. And streaming was a pretty obvious answer to that. It was something that I had been thinking about for the longest time and kind of just always needed that final push to do it. And when you're looking for a little bit of help in your mental health, I think that was a good change to be able to make.
What does it take to make that push in that direction?
I think it's just seeing it as a little bit more than just a possible hobby to do. And for me, being that my current professional career was not looking very good, I started seeing this as something that was even more than that. It was something that gave me hope and it's something that I can constantly work on and maybe make a career of itself in the future. And while I know I'm certainly way off from that still, it gives me something to look forward to and something to work towards. It was just the huge change from this is a hobby to this could be something way more.
If you don't mind me asking, what was sort of the job field that you were in?
I have a major in actuarial science, which is what I was doing, which for those who aren't aware, that's just something that's tends to be behind the scenes at insurance companies. It's people who kind of figure out what your rates would be, things like that. It's not exactly what I was doing. I was working at a retirement consulting firm to make sure that big retirement plans were going to be in good health and that they could always pay out the people involved. I'm still looking to get back into that career at some point coming up soon. I'm working with recruiters to try to find a job that's a better fit for me. Long term, I think I got to find either a much better job or I got to keep working on stuff like this because it's a really stressful field. I can recommend it for people who are okay with very high stress work and probably pretty high hours, but you got to know what you're getting into because that stuff can get pretty crazy sometimes.
And how many years were you doing that?
Slightly after 1 full year that I decided I had to leave.
And how many years have you been streaming?
It's not been too long yet. It's coming on 9 full months, I think.
What has been your initial thoughts from your whole streaming career until now?
I think it is one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done, to be completely honest. And while it can certainly be exhausting and some days can be demotivational, I think overall it's just been such a positive experience and such a nice inclusion to have in my life. Just because you meet so many awesome like-minded people. I think that's an awesome part about being a small streamer too, is that 99% of the people that you talk to are there because they're genuinely interested in you and aren't trying to troll you or give you a hard time or anything. Everyone's just kind of looking for someone to talk with, someone to share hobbies with.
Yeah.
And on top of, having this be a pretty nice thing to grow and work with professionally, it's just a nice avenue to meet new people too. And have a social outlet, because for the longest time it's easy to think like, oh man, I'm such an introvert, I don't want to talk to anyone, and then you talk to some people on Twitch and it's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe I'm not, maybe I was just talking to the wrong people, and it's
Right.
actually really fun to talk to people.
Would you say the community is your favorite thing about streaming, or is there another portion of streaming that you like better?
I think that's probably safe to say, is that the community is what keeps it going, because even like those days that like you don't feel so great either mentally or physically or whatever, there's always those people there who are super encouraging and always keep you going, I feel like. So above all, I think that's what shines the most for me.
Your stream consists of strictly platinum trophy hunting, or is there anything else on your stream that you might do?
I do mostly trophy hunting. I would say it's probably 70 or 80% trophy hunting. But Wednesday nights I've also been playing D&D, running a D&D group for the past 4, 5, 6 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a really good time, because I think it helps not just me, but a lot of people find a creative outlet. D&D is awesome for that.
Yeah.
I also tend to just like play random games from time to time, just for the fun of it. And I know a lot of the times we tend to have like longer streams, often for charity, that are not necessarily trophy hunting based, and they're kind of just for fun and to get a bunch of people together and have a good time for a day.
What sort of charity streams have you done?
We've done one for Heart Support, which is a mental health support group, and a group that I really, really want to donate for or raise money for again, because it came off of a time like just a couple months after like I was really feeling awful about myself, and I know a lot of my community felt like they resonated well with that group. So I think it'd be a great thing to bring back. And we've also done one for supporting animals. Oh, God, the name of the group is eluding me at this point, but that was another really, really fun day where we raised a really nice sum of money for supporting animals that can't support themselves. So
any charity streams in the future you're looking forward to?
nothing worked out for sure yet, but I would like to have something in the next month or two. I don't know what for yet. I don't know the exact details, but hopefully sometime in February or March. I think that'd be another thing I would like to get on the to-do list.
Yeah, so I always come into your Twitch chat, and whenever I do, I always see a lot of positivity, a lot of people cheering you on and whatnot. Does that push you in any sense to continue streaming and platinum trophy hunting?
100%. Yeah. And I think it's great because there's so many people who are so genuine. And sometimes, you have the people who are kind of just around for like a follow for follow mentality, which is not great. But like the people who are genuinely there to support you, it's great to have that, and it's great to be able to like give them that same support. It would feel weird if it was just a one-way street. I think it's nice to like both receive and give support, and know that that's what you're doing, and that's the community that you're a part of.
It's not just about getting on stream and kind of doing your own thing, but Twitch and other content creation platforms have always been about connecting with people. And some people would say that's networking, but kind of networking is sort of this like cliche term. I like to just call it connecting, because it's simply just bonding with another human being on gaming, streaming. You have these sort of like connective platforms that you're able to talk about very easily. And we're all here for one specific reason, and that's gaming. And at the very end of the day, like if we could just talk about gaming, that would be satisfying for all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, because obviously everyone wants to keep growing, and the one of the best ways to do that is make sure you're putting your name out there. I think first and foremost, it's the most important to make sure that you are trying to be a good member of the community that you're in and being a supportive person. And the people who do that are really, really awesome, amazing people that, like, I don't think I say it enough, but like they're seriously life-changing and beyond motivational. It's awesome.
What got you into becoming a platinum trophy hunter?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I could tell you at this point, because like I've been not platinum trophy hunting, but achievement hunting forever. Ever since I had an Xbox 360 when I was like 10 or 11, it just was kind of just always this natural thing. It's like I pick up this game, I see this list of things that the people who made the game said, here's the things that you can do to prove that you're pretty good at this game, and I'm like, well, that's a ton of fun. Let's do that over and over and over again with every game that I play. And it's just always kind of stuck in, like, it's nice to look back on a game and like look back at a trophy list or an achievement list and say, yeah, I did all that. And like you can very easily recount everything that happened in that game and feel positive about what you're able to accomplish. And I think that's that's what keeps me going with it, and always keeps me interested in like the longer games. Even if I'm not like super sold on them, it's like, well, I started it, and to make the most out of my time and money, I really ought to finish it. And maybe by the end, I still love it. And if not, well, at least I can look at the trophy list or achievement list and say that was still productive. I still did something cool.
Most money efficient game that was the most satisfying to you?
Is it even possible to not say Super Meat Boy right now? I don't think it is, because you get
Yeah.
that game for like $10 and then you're
I
there
agree.
for like 200, 300 hours
That's
trying
true.
to practice and get better and better. And I can't not say it. I know I'm working on Binding of Isaac right now too, which is a similar thing,
Yeah.
where it's like 500, 600 hours to completion.
Oh my
But
god.
the Super Meat Boy especially, it's so easy to feel the growth in that game and feel yourself getting better and better at it. And I'm sure you can relate because I know you did it too.
Yeah.
It's such a stressful but rewarding journey to get through, and it's so worth it for the money too.
Absolutely. I think I bought it for like $15 or something, and I bit the bullet, and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna bite this bullet before I buy this, I know that I'm going to 100% this game. So let's just get into it. I didn't know what I was
Yeah,
getting into though.
it's intimidating.
Whenever you unlock the boy in the three.
Oh no. Oh boy.
I want to be the guy when you unlock that trophy. Ooh, that first level intimidated the absolute heck out of me.
Yeah, and then it's even worse because you have to do all 3 levels in a row, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I did the first one, so I guess I'm not playing any other game until this is done. Oh boy,
That's
what a
how
headache.
that's how I feel. That's how I feel with it. What was your initial thoughts going into Super Meat Boy?
It was one of those few games where, like, I started it and I was like, okay, if this is too hard for me, I'm going to accept a loss here and not go crazy over it. But by the time you get to like some of the last worlds, it's like, I've gotten this far, I know I can finish it. Let's do it. That was one of the few where it's like, if I can't do it, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like ruin my life over this.
Yeah. Is there any games that you've ever said, I tried this and it's clearly not a fit?
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but normally, especially when I was working on staying on the very, very top of the PS5 leaderboard, I'm playing pretty much everything that comes out, and not all of it is admittedly things that are in my wheelhouse. Like one game I know I was playing for a while called Ride 4, like a motorbike racing game. I'm just not normally great at racing games. I'm certainly not great at like super realistic racing games. Gave it a try anyway. It didn't really work out that well. So it's things like that where like I'm just not super enjoying my time with it. I'm gonna let it go. I admit that I'm not good enough at it. It is what it is. I'm not gonna. Again, it's not. It's video games are supposed to be fun at the end of the day. Even if you're doing something to like try to be the best or try to be top of your field or whatever. Some things just aren't worth it. Some things it's not worth like burning yourself out on games or whatever. Playing something you don't like.
How many games would you say you came across? Like, would it be like 5, 10 that you stopped on?
Probably in the ballpark of like 25 out of like the 900 plats I have or so. And granted, a good couple hundred of those are pretty quick and easy plats, but still like maybe 400 or so, like pretty meaty games. And maybe like 20, 25 of those I've probably just either because I wasn't enjoying it or because I didn't feel like I was good enough at it. I had to give up.
900 some games you've platted.
930 something.
And how many games overall would you say you have played in your lifetime?
Oh boy. The numbers really started jumping up a lot when we were doing
Yeah.
PS5 trophies specifically, but I've always been one to like never really settle down with a game like or like a multiplayer game that you could really just get, hundreds and hundreds of hours out of, like Call of Duty or well, I did play CS:GO for a while, but I've always just been one to try to pick up games all the time. So but probably over like 2000. I don't know. I love games. I love all the different things you can do with games, and I want to experience as much as I can with it.
Do you feel like you've hit cloud 9 in games, or do you feel like there's more out there that you just haven't seen yet?
Oh, I'm sure there's more out there I haven't seen yet. Sometimes it's easy to feel burnt out, and that, especially in the AAA industry, that things don't really feel so original anymore. Whenever I really start to get burnt out, there's always some sort of massive gem that I find that like completely renews my drive to keep playing games. And for me last year, that was Hades. When I got around to playing Hades, that game like blew my mind with how good it was and how much content was there for it only being, I think, a $30 game.
Mhm.
it completely like flipped the whole thing on its head for me. Where before I was kind of subscribing to like, well, if I could get like an hour per dollar I spent, or maybe $2 I spent worth of entertainment, I'll be happy with that. But then Hades comes through and says, all right, here's $30, here's $100 of content. I'm like, whoa, this is how much we could be doing and how little we charge for it. What in the world?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
love this game so much.
And you 100%ed Hades?
I did twice over because there was the
Twice.
ability to play it on PS4 and PS5, and I loved it enough to do it twice.
Oh my
Despite
gosh.
how long of a game it was.
So what was your easiest platinum trophy?
There's so many like $5 5-minute games that come out. I really like the challenge in games, so that like
Yeah.
the easier things don't stand out so
Yeah.
strong in memory. But I know there's tons of like quick experiences that are a ton of fun too. So I think anything like couch co-op tends to be not too bad and a ton of fun and really, really like satisfying, both from like I don't know, it's super arcadey, like earn 3 scores, like, or earn 3 stars, like Overcooked is. It's fun to like to very easily be able to see yourself getting better at something like that, and also be able to like cooperate with friends and
Oh, yeah.
be able to like plan out how you're gonna do something and then put it into action, and then be able to look back and say, hey, we all did that together. That's crazy. We were here. I see Mixon saying that too. That's another good game. Anything cooperative, I think, makes for some of the most satisfying experiences because
Yeah.
you need someone else to do it with you.
So you appreciate like team-based challenges.
Yeah, big time, big time. I like solo games. I like cooperative games. I'm not so big on multiplayer, but I think cooperative tends to be the best experiences for me if the game is done at least even a little bit well. I'll find a way to have fun with it.
What about It Takes Two? Have you ever?
Yeah, me and Esnier actually played It Takes Two, and that was actually one of the first like experiences I had really with like being on a stream. I played it with Esnier right before I did start streaming, but like I played with him and he was streaming, so it was kind of like dipping your toe, and it felt like, man, this is a lot of fun. This is really cool. Maybe I should really be trying this for myself, kind of thing. The mechanics were so cool, and I'm so happy that game won Game of the Year. It really, really deserved it. It was one of the most positive experiences I had last year.
I played it with my wife, and it is an incredibly long game. We're not even finished with it yet, but we had to put it down because it was so long.
And I love that because I think a lot of co-op games tend to be on the shorter side. And I know even their game that came before It Takes Two, I don't know did you ever play A Way Out?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's by the same company, but was only like 3 or 4 hours long, maybe total. And it's nice to be able to like sit down with someone and finish a game in an afternoon or an evening or whatever. But I really like It Takes Two because they put so much thought and so much content into it that it was just mind blowing entirely. I agree with you. Every single like mechanic that you work through in that game stays with you just long enough so that you feel like you've mastered it, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, and then you're on to the next thing and already learning something entirely new and experiencing like a whole different world. That's another cool part about that game is the set designs were so different and so interesting to look at every single place that you go.
What about your hardest platinum?
Most certainly Super Meat Boy again. I've done some harder things. I've done Crash 1, 2, 3, and 4. I gave up on team racing, I'll be honest. I'm terrible at racing games, so the Crash racing game messed me up. Those are another set of pretty tough ones that I haven't mentioned yet that I feel pretty proud of. And I think Crash 4 was actually the very first game that I streamed on my channel that I think was a great start because it's a super awesome game that's pretty well known, but also requires a pretty good amount of skill to actually get the plat for, because some of those time trials are kind of crazy sometimes.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that. Neo Cortex levels, time trials, absolute nightmare. Don't bring me back to those.
Oh yeah, the last Neo Cortex level I think took me like longer than, well, maybe not quite as long as all the others combined, but probably not that far off either.
Yeah.
It was a disaster.
I can't even believe for a game that came out in 2020 with mechanics and everything, you think they would have made him more. I think they did it as a meme, to be honest, because that's how he was. So they didn't want to change him, and they were like, well, deal with this, guys, all right? You're just going to have to deal with it.
I can believe that. Yeah, no, he's so I don't even want to say clunky, but it feels so sluggish and really not nice to work through.
No. Crash 4 was definitely one of my harder ones as well. And now I'm doing Spelunky 2, which happens to be honestly up to par with Super Meat Boy. I'm really having a tough time getting through it. I have 2 trophies left though, so you have to get through like 4 subworlds of 7 levels, and you can't die. And of course, like getting up to that 6th or 7th level, you can get insta killed so easily, but you can still have like 30 health and still get insta killed easily. So it's very frustrating.
It kind of reminds me of Crypt the Necrodancer, which, man, I don't know if I ever will get around to it, but that'd be a nice one to be able to claim. But
I've been
I think it
recommended
has
that
like
game.
I think it's got like 10 achievers out of like tens or hundreds of thousands of players. So it's like you know what you're getting into with that one. That's gonna be a bit of a mess if that's something that you or I ever feel like taking on. Man, what a crazy achievement that would be. I think what might make it so tough for some people is combining that rogue experience with rhythm as well. You might not like either of those genres, and if you don't feel very good at either, then the whole thing is probably going to be a nightmare of a difficulty for you.
What was like your main drive in pushing through your hardest platinum trophy?
So it's interesting with Super Meat Boy because I don't know if I would have seen it through if I wasn't streaming it, because again, it's like you have so many people in chat that are like so super supportive of getting through it, and I also know that like other people had either played it or platinum it before me who are like, giving advice and saying you can do it, you can do it. If you can do X in this game, you can also do Y, and if you can do Y, you can do Z, and just like that whole motivational train to keep it going. But yeah, I don't know if I could have seen it through, because that game can get super tiresome sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's easy to look past it when you're able to just like, man, this level's really weighing on me right now. Let's just take like 2 minutes to just chat with people instead, and then suddenly I'm feeling good as new again and ready to start it up again. But not having the experience of like ever playing it offline, I have no clue. I think it's probably just being able to work through it with other people, though. With the community support, it's like, all right, I want to keep trying this every single day until we get it. I want to keep at it because there's people who want to see it happen. I want to see it happen. We all want to make it happen. Let's just do it.
If you were to talk to an amateur trophy hunter today, how would you sum it up to that person of what it takes to become a better version of what they would be, platinum trophy hunting, etc.?
Such a large part of it is be willing to explore and really let yourself try out games that you wouldn't necessarily think that you would play otherwise. Really branch out, because you can find some things that are on the quicker side and the more efficient side. And you also, like, I don't know, you try a new genre and realize, man, I actually had a ton of fun with this. Let's try other things. And those other things lead you to like way more games that you can maybe quickly, or at least have a lot of fun getting through. But you got to remember that it's, at the end of the day, supposed to mostly be a hobby, and you're supposed to mostly be having fun with what you're doing. So, the most important thing at the end of the day is picking games and sticking with games that you're enjoying, and not letting yourself get super burnt out on the games that you're not. Be willing to walk away from things that aren't very satisfying or very fun, and stick with the things that you're having a blast with. There's some days where like I'm feeling at a low, and I'll just load up like Katamari or Hades and just play that for the day, and then be like, yeah, no, gaming is still awesome. Gaming is still completely great, and such a great outlet to have.
You mentioned outlet. Do you mind talking about that a little more?
Like I said, I think it's always just supposed to be that thing that's always supposed to be fun for you, always supposed to be a nice thing to have. So whether it's being stressed with other games or being stressed with other things in life, it's always a nice thing to be able to turn to and say, all right, let's just pick out something that we know we love and we know that we can relax with, and just hang out with that for the day. For me, at least personally, I find that always just renews my motivation to keep going through whatever is giving me a hard time in the first place, whether that be work or whether that be strained relationships with family and friends or whatever, or being demotivated and working on the stream, or just being burnt out in gaming in general. And none of those feelings come up very often, but when they do, it's nice to be able to turn somewhere and say, yeah, I can pretty much always rely on this to help me feel good as new.
Speaking of feeling good as new, what are some core values that you pride yourself on in every stream to help make you feel good as new?
I think one of the most important parts of my streams to me is just remembering to be who I am and not trying to be someone who I'm not. I'm normally not too vocal in real life. I'm happy to more just like listen rather than talk a lot of the time. So I still, have to make sure I'm voicing my thoughts or talking with people, and always making an effort to do that. But like, I don't want to like pretend to be interested in things that I'm not. If people are sticking with you and sticking with your stream and sticking with your community, it's because they like what you have going on. So there's no need to continue to try to be someone that you're not. Just
yeah.
stay true to you. And the internet is a massive place, and people will find you for who you are completely enjoyable. And when you know you're being genuine and you know what you're expressing interest in is genuine, it's really much easier to talk with people who are sharing those interests and feel connected to them. So being genuine is probably the biggest thing for me.
You feel like your streaming persona and your reality persona, do you feel like they sort of mix together, or do you feel like they're a little more separate?
I didn't think they mixed so much, but I had a small gathering for Thanksgiving recently, and before food, we were kind of just hanging out playing games, and apparently I was being like quite vocal about what I was doing and explaining everything that I was doing, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. So
Yeah.
it has bled through a little bit, and I didn't think it was, but here we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Being that I'm, trying to actively find jobs again too, I didn't feel this as it was happening, but suddenly you sit down for an interview with a company and you find yourself just super comfortable talking about anything and whatever they throw at you. It's like, I think I can probably contribute this to having been streaming for a while and having that experience, just being able to talk about whatever and not feeling. I think it's very, very natural to feel nervous when you start streaming, but that feeling disappeared so quick. And I realized that when you go and apply that to situations outside of streaming, it can make a huge difference just having that experience.
How about your core values that you might place on a community member who comes in?
If they're like immediately talking about the things that they're working on or like their own stream, it's like, I'm not convinced that you're really here to like bond with this community. And if you are, then I'm happy to have everyone in this community go back and support you. But like, if you're just there to only talk about yourself, I don't like that. I don't want everything to be about me either, but I want things to be about whatever we're all discussing or whatever game is being played. It just being able to share things about yourself that aren't necessarily just like promoting yourself. It can be a delicate balance, and sometimes, but like most of the time it's pretty clear. Like if someone's just like, hey, I'm also streaming this game, do you want to come check it out later? And it's like, no, that's okay.
God, that's so cringe. That's so cringe. It's complicated because I do believe in sort of like that follow for follow mentality, but not to the derivative that it is, you know. I believe that we should all accompany each other, like you had talked about earlier with not just giving yourself to stream, but giving yourself to, you know, other people's attention and sort of just that connective process. Like if someone came in and naturally connected with me, I would feel inclined, or I should feel inclined to, you know, go over to their stream and connect with them. But, you know, when someone sort of like promotes that, I sort of get a very immature feeling that this person like really doesn't know what it takes to actually become a streamer and to sort of connect.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as someone's there to like just, you know, have a good time and be genuine. If like it comes out that they also stream, then I'm like, well, that's awesome. Let's go support them too, because they've been super awesome to us. But there's plenty of instances where people just kind of show up and expect that they're giving you their attention for at least a little bit. So you should do the same for them. It's crazy.
That whole mentality of not defining expectations for other people, but defining expectations for like yourself. Like if this person is supporting me, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to go over there and support them. But if they connect with me and support me as well, and they say, and they're flexible with like my conversation with them, and I'm like, oh well, I like them, I'm going to go check them out. Like my expectation to that is I'm going to connect with them because they're pretty freaking awesome and I want to get to know them better. Do you have any instances on stream that may have been really bad occurrences? Like do you have any stories that are bad scenarios that may have happened on stream that you're like, oh my god, I don't ever want to remember this again until the day that Juicy has me on his podcast?
Honestly, I don't really think so. I think I've had a pretty fortunate run of things, and when I think it was probably like September through, or maybe like August through October last year, where hate raids were a pretty commonplace, and you hear about it happening to a lot of people. I was fortunate enough to never have that happen to me. It wasn't a difficulty I ever had to put up with, and I'm sure it could still happen at any given stream, any given day. But I've been very fortunate to not have to deal with that really, for having been on this platform for a good almost year now, I feel like I've had a real nice run of avoiding those serious problems. What about you? Is that anything that you've ever had to come across?
Yeah, actually on a couple of occurrences, but I have one in particular where I was playing a Night of Among Us with my community, of course, and we were all in the Discord, all peaceful, nothing happened. Like we were just happy go lucky playing. I get someone that comes in, kind of suspicious, kind of seems like almost like a bot, like they're talking, but they're not like feeling what they're saying, or they're not
Sure.
like hearing what they're saying. They ask for my Discord, I give them my Discord, and they end up coming into the Discord with like a huge. There's hundreds of people who are entering my Discord at this moment, and I'm just trying to
Uh-oh.
play Among Us, and I just see this huge list, and it just keeps going, and it just keeps going. People are joining, and I'm like, oh my god, what is going on? And so then we're in a group call in there of like 10 people in the audio, and they all jump in, all these people, and they're just saying
Oh
all these
man.
profanities, and it was it was the absolute worst. I couldn't give you a worse time. It was like back in July or June of this year, and I just said, well, you know what, screw it, no more Among Us, we're done.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that is terrible.
Yeah,
Because with games like that, it can be tough. When like I love to play games with the community like Among Us or Jackbox, but I also am kind of a softie, and whenever people show up and like ask and I play too, I don't ever want to like necessarily say no, but like God, there's just so many trolls for games like that.
yeah,
And while I've
yeah,
not come anywhere close to an issue that bad, and I'm sorry that happened to you, it sucks. It sucks so bad when people just kind of fly in and feel like they need to ruin the good time that your
yeah.
community's trying to have.
Why did you have to choose this stream out of the
Yeah.
thousands of other Among Us streams out there? I mean, what the heck? Like, you go to a small streamer, like, why not go to a bigger streamer and get more attention? You're going to a small streamer who has like 10, 20 viewers, and you like, why are you trying to ruin my day? You could be
Yeah.
ruining a big streamer's day. Could be big for you. It could be big for you. Who knows?
Then there's all the attention you want is on those huge streams.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
Me,
talking about.
me and my 10 or 20 people will just laugh at you and have a story for later. But
Yeah, exactly. Is there any positive events that have happened on your stream that you can sort of dish out right now to be like, this might be number one?
the last charity stream I had done was I have a channel redeem on my channel that is 222,000 channel points to redeem a 22-hour stream in which we pretty much just do whatever the redeemer wants to do.
Yeah.
And the last time that happened, the person who had done it, Eucharist, shout out Eucharist, if you're around here, I love you, dude. He redeemed it and then messaged me later and said, "Hey, can we turn this into a charity stream? I really like what we did last time and
Nice.
would want to make that happen again." And I was like, "Dang, that's awesome! Like we could easily just make that a day about you because you spent that long with me. I want to celebrate you too, but like." He was just like, no, let's do something good with a powerful stream like that, and with the attention that we would get from that, let's turn that into something more productive. And that is like, dang, the internet's a real cool place, isn't it?
It could be.
That's awesome.
It could be.
That made me super overjoyed, and to see the support that came out of it too, where everyone was super hyped up on that. It was just an awesome feeling all around.
And how much money did you manage to raise for that?
I think it was 1,700 for World Animal Protection. I believe it was
Wow.
1,700.
And look at that. Like, because of an idea, you wouldn't have. Other than that, you wouldn't have done it. So it was because of someone else's motivation to be like, hey, let's here's a good idea, let's try this. And you could also look at that in a way where you were doing something for that streamer, that was a request from them. So any other positive moments? I mean, I like to hear about this positivity crap that people like to babble about all the time.
It's just really any opportunity I get to like to chat with people about what they're working on. And again, it's the kind of people who have been with me for a little bit and I know are genuinely awesome members of the community who care about everyone around them. It's nice to just be able to talk with them about what they're working on, what they're doing, and be able to spread awareness for, I think, people that are also really awesome, and that I think everyone who might be watching me might also enjoy them and watching them grow too. And just that's like, it can be such a double-edged sword where like you talk about people, and then other people who might have been lurking, who have never said anything and tried to bond with your community at all, are like, oh, really? I stream too. Talk about me. When you have an awesome community and you can make that awesome community spread to other awesome communities and make everything grow, I think that is just overall a great feeling, and not a specific instance, but something that can just kind of happen very, very passively over time and be awesome to look back on.
I think you nailed it with what you said right there, because that's like the gist of these podcasts in general. I wanted to have a podcast firsthand, but I also want to promote other streamers and to give people a chance to branch out and see the online personas of all these different streamers. There's so much unique space on the internet, let alone just like this gaming content platform. But if people are able to see me and they might like my content, why wouldn't they like someone who's like-minded as me, or as positive, or as growth incentivized as I am? The people on this podcast in general all share that in common. And if I can show that connective process and grow one person to meet this person, and so on and so forth, we're all building connections together. And I think that's what it's all about.
It's so easy to feel the impact of that too, because I think Twitch kind of has a discoverability problem for smaller streamers. So when we take it into our own hands to make sure that the people that we care about and the people that we find awesome are getting the attention and the support that they need and deserve, I feel like it's nice to be able to take that into our own hands, because I think a lot of the time discoverability can be an issue.
Have you been a witness of it yourself, like firsthand?
Probably to a much lesser extent than a lot of other people have. I think it's real easy to be stuck under like 5 viewers on Twitch and have either days or weeks or just like an entire run at Twitch where you're never really able to get past that, because no matter what category you're in, there tends to be pages and pages of people working on it, and tons of people on that lower viewer count. Yeah. And I had such an awesome friend group that was just like immediately there for me, like every single day when I was starting off, and keeping me pretty well off, and I'm extremely grateful for them. But I know it can be so difficult watching other people, and even having days like that myself, where you can just feel so stuck sometimes, and it's tough. But it's not even like an easy challenge to overcome. You can be doing everything right, and just the algorithm is not favoring you, or the category that you're in isn't favoring you. If I can help bring awareness to that person's channel, I think that's incredible to do.
And what channels, what games are you referencing any at this moment?
I have a couple of friends who are very, very good at art and very good at music, but those categories on Twitch are extremely populated because it is such a generic genre.
Yeah.
And that any opportunity I can get to, talk about someone who's working on art or someone who's working on music, I think especially with categories like that, it's super helpful to do things to help them climb up that category a little bit. But even like some games that are still super streamed, like pretty much anything AAA, I suppose, but like I think the Call of Duty titles will always be really populated. I think even like League, anyone playing League is probably gonna have a pretty tough time if they're in the lower numbers, because that's a super dense category. So there's definitely a pretty big handful of them that you're gonna have a hard time with, and people who are trying to stick it out in those categories, cheers to you, because it's not always easy.
What would you say is the most viewer induced category that you've been in before? Have you ever struggled in a game to be like, why am I not getting viewers? Like, there's such an influx. Have you been like on the bottom of a category? Like, do you have any scenarios in your head?
If I'm having a bad numbers day, I'll probably just like hide the viewer count and not look at it, because I think it demotivates me. The second game I ever streamed was Balan Wonderworld, and nobody was playing that game because it's quite frankly pretty bad. But it was very easy to have a great laugh at it. And also knowing that like there's barely anyone streaming it makes it pretty easy to meet new people in. That's also, I think, a piece of advice for anyone who might be struggling with denser categories is when you're trophy hunting and you're just like in so many different places all the time, it makes it so easy to meet new people. And at the end of the day, people might find you because they're interested in watching a game, but the reason that they're going to stick with you is because they like you most of the time and not necessarily the game that you're playing.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to like just try out new games and branch out to everything, and you'll meet so many people along the way, and the people who like you, they'll stick with you. I've kind of strayed away from games that are super story heavy that will like last more than a couple days, because people might not be inclined to jump in because it's like, well, I've already missed a large part of the story, or maybe they're planning on playing that game for themselves in the future and don't want to spoil the story. I feel like games like Spelunky or since I'm also working on Binding of Isaac are great because it's like anything that requires skill to be good at, I think those games are a lot more interesting to watch, but they can also be something that you can constantly explain in a way that people can understand, in a way that's also really fast and doesn't take up like, with a story heavy game, all right, let's sit down for 10 minutes and talk about everything that's happened so far, as opposed to you pick up an item in a game like Spelunky or Isaac, and it's like, okay, for anyone who doesn't know, this is what it does.
Yeah.
Now we're all caught up. Now we understand.
Pretty much. You're not out there playing any Metal Gear Solid 4.
True. I've only ever played 5. God, I loved it, but man, was that a very cutscene heavy game. Sometimes it works out nicely and you don't need to have played the rest of the series to really get it, but I don't know if that's the case with 4. It might not have been a real rough time trying to jump into.
Yeah, it was something like that, Blah. It was something like that. Jumping back to your own personal growth, what sort of life lessons have led you into creating your persona, Blah Part?
I know this is pretty cliche, but I think the value of treating other people the way you want to be treated. To treat people with respect and decency. Read the room. If people are not wanting to talk about something, respect it. If someone seems like they are really interested in something and bring it up on the side there, and it's like, okay, well, no, tell me more about that. I want to hear more about that because clearly you're excited about it. I know if I were watching someone else and there's something I wanted to say or share, I would want to be able to have that opportunity to expand on it. It can be kind of tough to recognize that in people, but I try my best, and it can be kind of easy to forget that these are all real people you're talking to when you're on Twitch, because it's just a name and letters coming up on your screen, but these are all real people, and you got to treat everyone like they're a real person. Consider all of what they're going through, all their feelings, all their interests, all that good stuff.
Is there any other things that you would like to be treated this way, so therefore you're going to treat a community member this way?
If I don't feel like an expert on something, I'm happy to just listen. And sometimes it's pretty clear that people just don't even want advice. They just want to be able to say something. I'm not going to pretend like I know enough to provide solid advice for you, but I'm happy to be someone that will listen. I totally believe that people have days where they kind of just need to vent and talk about whatever they need to talk about and just have it, off their chest, and be able to put that out there in the world so that other people can hear it, and that helps them feel better. But I also don't want anyone to always have something negative to say, always feel down on the world, down on what's happening. If that's the attitude I have, I urge people to be like, well, what are some good things about other things going on, though? What are some other positives that we can look at? And if it's just constant negativity, then there reaches a point where I don't think that has a place anymore, because it kind of just brings people down. But it's a fine line between, all right, please vent today and do whatever you need to do, say whatever you need to say, but don't make that your whole personality. Don't make that everything you say. There's got to be some positivity to look at. Yeah.
Some people would say that Twitch streaming is like looking in a mirror. Is there any reference to maybe your personality changing, or something that someone may have brought out that brings the best out of you?
I try my best very actively now to make sure I'm hearing out every single possible side of a story, and making sure that I'm considering all the thoughts and feelings and opinions of other people, and making sure that I respect that and use language that's not belittling to their opinion, and making sure we say things like, this is how I feel and this is how I think about it, rather than this is how it is, because that's not going to be the case for everyone. Everyone can feel and have their own thoughts about things. Making sure that I take the time to hear out every side of whatever it is I'm talking to someone about, I think is extremely important. I think it's something that I've gotten a lot better at, both Twitch streaming wise and real life wise. And even when it just comes to things based in fact, I'm going to make it clear that if I don't know something, I'm going to say I don't know it. I'll take my best guess at something and share my educated guess on something, I guess, but a lot of the time it'll just prompt me to go look something up later and make sure I'm informed about whatever I was talking about, and not just be spewing a bunch of nonsense out of my mouth.
When a new person comes into your community, how do you particularly engage and welcome them based off of the last thing that you had said?
It can be pretty tough, because I think once you start really having a presence on this platform, it can be hard for people to feel like they can jump in and start talking to people, because even if you don't mean for this to be the case at all. It can kind of just feel like there's a very established way of communicating and a very established like roles within the community, and people just kind of feel nervous to like introduce themselves or say hi. And if someone wants to talk to us for the first time, I hope that I'm encouraging of like discussing what might have brought them to my community, or how they might have heard of me, or what it is about what we're doing that interests them, just to like build conversation and give an opportunity for everyone present to learn about that person as well. Honestly, sometimes it'll slip through the cracks and I don't mean it to, but then I'll think back on the stream later in the day and be like, darn, I really wish I could have heard more from that new person today and been better about making sure that they felt like they could be immediately an active member of the community. Because there's definitely some communities where it's like you step in and it seems like all these people really love each other and really like talking to each other, and maybe aren't so communicative with the new people,
Right.
and don't really feel like saying much to them. And that's kind of like a point that I think maybe even my mods are way better than I am at it, of like making sure that they have conversations with those new people. And I appreciate them a ton for it, because if I were to jump into a new community, I think that's one of the most positive things that can happen to me right away, is having someone,
Click with
you know, yeah, someone greet you, someone ask how your day is, someone ask what you're all about, and just be able to learn about them. And if they have things that they share that you don't know or aren't completely sure of, don't just dismiss it. Hear them out. Make sure they have their chance to speak about whatever they're here to speak about. And sometimes that just means that you get trolled. Whatever. At least I tried. At least I tried to make a new connection. Right. And a lot of the time that won't be the case, and you'll meet a super awesome new person. I think it's super important to be super friendly to those new people. I want to make it clear to people that they are very encouraged to come back if they want to come back, but also like I don't ever want anyone to feel bad about like missing a stream or missing a week of streams or even a month of streams. Like real life and whatever you're interested in, absolutely 100% is more important, and you should be focusing on that. Please don't ever apologize if you can't make it to my stream. This is like, it's so unnecessary, and I appreciate the thought and like people wishing that they could be there all the time, but like it's okay. I don't ever want to pressure anyone to be like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like we're building a community. If someone else wants to join in and be a part of this community, that's great. That's great. You never have to apologize for not being here, because that's not going to hinder our performance. Like, we're still going to keep doing the same thing. You not being there is obviously hurts a little bit, because viewer engagement is something that we obviously strive for, but at the same time, it's not hindering our performance at all. You're not darkening our emotions at all by not being here, other than viewer engagement, of course. So there's no need to apologize for that. What are some of your best ways to keep in contact with everyone in your community?
I try to be as communicative as I can in my Discord, and I know if I'm not, there's other people who are always willing to strike up a conversation, and I appreciate them a ton for it. But just having another avenue of talking with people while you're not actively streaming is nice. It gives you that chance to just chat with people under a different light, where you're not. I don't ever necessarily want to be the center of attention while I'm streaming, but it's just kind of the result of it. So just to be able to have that avenue where you can talk with people and see what they're working on and all that good stuff. Like I know in my Discord, I always I want people to be comfortable like posting what they're working on, whether that be art or music or their own streams. I want to be able to have that avenue to go explore what they're working on too. So just always keeping those avenues open and trying to promote things like that, I think helps me stay connected with people a lot.
And do you find yourself a big lurker on other streams of maybe your friend group, or even bigger streamers that you may not know very well?
Yes and no. I tend to spend a lot of my time at least having Twitch open and listening to someone, but I'm also very much of the mindset that if I have someone open and I'm talking in their chat, I'm there for them. I don't want to have a bunch of different tabs open where I'm listening to 5 different people at once. I want to talk with this one person and let them know that my attention is with them. I tend not to be like everywhere all the time, but a lot of the time I'll be happy to like pull up a stream and chat with that person for 30 minutes to an hour before either I got to go work on something else, or maybe I want to go say hi to someone else too. It's so important to me that like if I'm there with someone, I want to be giving them my full attention and let them know that I'm there for them. I want to hear about them. I want to listen to them. If someone wants to have like a bunch of tabs open and have me be one of them and you're just lurking, that's completely cool and I appreciate the support. But if people are going to be chatting, I really hope that we're the ones really chatting, it's you and I and not you and like five other people. I appreciate people who want to support a lot of different people, but for me personally, that's again. Treat people the way you want to be treated. If I'm going to go watch someone else, I want to give them my full attention. And I hope that when people are trying to have a conversation with me, that they really feel engaged with it enough to make that the conversation that they're in.
A very meaningful type of drive for you. Does that span across your life other than maybe platinum trophy hunting and streaming?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. I'll be like the first to admit that I'm on my phone a lot and like browsing social media a lot or Reddit a lot. But if anyone ever wants to like have a conversation with me or talk about something, then I make it my goal to put my phone down, ignore it, and listen to what they're saying and give them my attention, and just make sure they know I'm listening to them. Because it's so valuable to me that when you're having any sort of communication with someone, that you personally feel engaged in what you're talking about with them, but also that they know that you care about what they're saying.
Do you find your relationships offline similar in terms of maybe a connective property?
I think so. At least I try to make that be the case as best as I can. You know, obviously sometimes if it's just super casual conversation, no one's going to care if you're on your phone or whatever while you're talking about a sports game or something, or just like, I think it's important to give them as much attention as you possibly can. And it was even something that when like I was playing Meat Boy, I tried to go out of my way. Like if someone was trying to tell me something pretty serious or like had a lot to share with me, then I think first and foremost, and this doesn't at all have to be true for everyone, but for me, when I'm on Twitch, I care more about the connecting with people and talking with people part than whatever game I'm playing. And I don't mind having to like pause the game for a little bit to make sure I'm catching up with what people are trying to tell me, and making sure that I'm really hearing them and really giving them a genuine response back if it's something I need to think about. But at the end of the day, it's like what they're saying and what they're talking about are gonna take priority for me. And I think 100% that Twitch can go either way. People can very, very easily care more about what they're playing, and more about showcasing the game and their abilities.
Oh yeah.
And that still can be a very fun thing to watch. And especially once you start getting into bigger streams, chat will probably keep you company if the streamer's not. So it's completely understandable to take that perspective too. But personally, at least as a small streamer, I think it is way more rewarding to focus on the connections rather than the game first and foremost, although both are obviously super important.
For someone like me who's terrible at games, I think it's great that I can at least have the community connection. Anything that you like to do in your spare time? Any hobbies, life goals, motives? What fuels you?
It's kind of tough right now because I'm not like, a lot of the time I'm still kind of questioning like, what is it that I want to be doing with my life right now? I'm kind of at a crossroads and I still haven't found the answer even through months of searching for it. So I'm still trying to explore different possibilities of where I could really be focusing my efforts in life. But outside of that, the most rewarding things for me are still just the relationship side of things, even in real life, where my favorite thing to do on a Saturday night is to just have a bunch of friends over and play some board games or just chat or play Jackbox or something and just share laughs and have a good time. My friends and my family are, I think, by far the most important parts of my life. Life can be short, so focus on the things you care the most about and making sure that those relationships are where you want them to be all the time.
I can tell why your heart is so much into streaming. You seem to have this very deep connection to a lot of people, or at least seeking that. And I could see why streaming is such a significant part of your life.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm glad that is conveyed, because it is pretty much my guiding thoughts in life is, let's make sure that we're bonding with people the best that we can and making sure that the people that we care about, they know that we care. If I feel like people are being super welcoming, or like asking questions about people that I didn't think to ask, I try to like take that second to say, you know what, thank you for promoting that discussion or asking them about that or asking that question that kind of just eluded me. And I hope that everyone realizes how important it is as a result. And I feel like it's true. I feel like when people that like even no one has met in like the first time viewer, and I know like Twitch shows that now of like first time chat from this user, everyone is just super inclined to say, "Hey, welcome. What's up? How are you? How was your day?" And it feels great. It feels great, and I'm super proud of everyone who does that. Everyone understanding that this is more than just someone playing a game. It's we're all trying to be a pretty great community to one another. So it's a wonderful thing to see.
So next to inclusivity and connectiveness, is there anything that strikes you as super significant in your life?
Just the ability to set goals, I think. Try to stay motivated. And honestly, I've been struggling with that over the holidays because it's like there's so much going on. There's so many people to like make sure I stay caught up with and that I'm hanging out with. But just to have a clear goal of where you want what you're doing to go and what you feel like you need to work on. Just trying to always improve. I've been recently trying to like modify my channel redeems a little bit and maybe try to think of a few more. Just to like always be adding something new and always be developing in some way or another. Or I think that's a nice thing about Twitch is that it's pretty easy to go out and like see what other people are doing and try to take mental notes and not copy what they're doing, but use that as an inspiration for yourself. And if there's someone that you're close to, I always try to make an effort to say like, hey, I really like this thing that you were doing. Do you mind if I do something similar? Because I always want to be growing. I want to be working on what I'm doing. And I think that what you do is an awesome source of inspiration or an awesome idea, and I would like to adapt that for myself. When you come across like that, I think it's very easy for people to say, yeah, absolutely, thank you for asking, thank you for acknowledging, and thank you for the support. And it's just another way to let them know that they're doing great too, is when you can make it clear to them that they're motivating you or they're inspiring you.
I'm gonna hit you with the hard questions now.
Okay.
Between
Okay.
connectiveness and inclusivity, would you rather possess that quality in life and or possessing it towards others, or would you rather have goal-oriented tasks and platinum trophy hunting in your life, and you have to get rid of one and you have to keep the other?
And that is pretty tough because
Jeopardy
it feels
music.
like it can be.
Cue the Jeopardy music.
It can feel like it's pretty hard to have one without the other, but if I gotta pick one, it's gotta stay connected with people, because I don't know, at its core it's like, it's not success versus relationships, but it kind of is. If you're just too focused on goals, then I think you miss the things that feel the most meaningful in your life. If you're just super focused on doing this one thing for yourself or this one thing for your stream or whatever you're working on. I think that's a fast track to just kind of not feeling fulfilled, or kind of like just not, I guess, feeling alone at the end of the road. Is like, I did it, but I didn't feel connected to anyone along the way. So I don't know. Part of success is being able to share the success with other people and make it something that we all care about and that we can all be happy about, rather than just me. If it's just me accomplishing something, what's the point if I can't share with anyone?
Yeah.
So it's those relationships that have to come first, and if that means we never accomplish a single thing in life, so be it. Who cares? Whatever. At least we have each other.
So, okay, let's reverse that scenario and say you were in an apocalyptic world and you were the only one on the planet. What would be your motive then? Because that takes everything that you said and invalidates it, right? So, what would be your thing?
That is a good question, and that would make for a very difficult world for me, I think. The feeling of being alone in a situation like that would be real tough to deal with. I don't know. I think I'd just be stuck in the mentality of like, what's the point? If I'm able to do all this, if I'm able to survive, if I'm able to like pay my own way in this world where I'm the only person in it, I mean, I guess there's still some level of intrinsic value you can take of that, and you can look back after however much you accomplish and say, all right, I did it. That's pretty cool. But what comes next? Like if you survive an apocalyptic world until you like die of old age, what was the point? What did you accomplish? I guess you got to live for a little bit longer, but to what end? You didn't have much in that world that was worth working towards, I guess. And while you might take like satisfaction out of getting through day-to-day stuff, I don't think it would ultimately be very, very rewarding if I was just doing it all on my own.
I feel that on a deep level. Do you have any main methods that you go over if you were getting into a new game and you realized you were going to platinum trophy hunt it? Or you realize you were going to get the platinum trophy? Is there any methods that you go over, such as like playthroughs, certain mechanics that you might do in every universal game? Anything that comes to mind?
I always like to go into a game with a game plan, and it's why trophy guides are super cool, if nothing else, just for the reason to have a roadmap laid out in front of you of what you need to accomplish and the order you need to accomplish it in. I like to mostly explore games on my own and accomplish those things on my own, but I like to at least have that starting direction of here's what's going to have to be done first, here's what's going to have to be done second. I'll figure out how to do those things on my own, and if I'm really struggling, then I'll get help with it. But it's really just having that sense of what does this whole journey look like? How many playthroughs? What do the playthroughs need to look like? What difficulties do I need to play on? Let's just develop that plan up front and stick to it as we go through. And I think it's a really satisfying exercise in just checking the boxes as you go along and saying, all right, step 1 is done, step 2 is done, step 3 is done. And I try to reflect that too, because I have a handful of guides that I've written myself, and I think that's one of the most important parts about them is laying out that clear sense of direction for people and making sure that like you're not worried about missing anything along the way, forgetting this trophy that, oh, well, now you have to go through and play through 10 hours of the game again before you can do this one thing again. No one likes to worry about that. No one likes to like go through this exercise of repeating all of it just for one little small task halfway through the game.
What characteristics do you feel you must possess as a person, individual, and as a trophy hunter to be able to get into trophy hunting?
Largely patience, because even if that roadmap is laid out for you, there's no shortage of things that can go wrong along the way, and just being able to take that in stride. And if something turns out that it's a little more difficult or a little longer than you expected, being able to suck it up and still stick with it and not feel like you're getting super tired or super annoyed or super burned out on whatever you're working on. It's okay if those feelings happen, but patience helps a lot to not get there in the first place. Just the ability to be patient, the ability to persevere, and being able to stick with a project. People trophy hunt in different ways too. Some people just care about like strictly the number of trophies that they have, and they start up a bunch of different games. And like in that case, my advice is probably not gonna really work for them, because that's a whole different style that they're working with. But more than anything, just play the way that you want to play. The fun will still come, the trophies will still come, no matter how you do it, if you're still enjoying what you're doing.
Is there a certain method that you go about picking the games that you choose?
For most of my life, it's just been, what do I think I can get the most time out of for the money that I spend? Because as a college student, you're not exactly swimming in money, and as now a postgraduate with
you weren't
tons
rich in
of student
college,
debt. No, believe it or not,
that's
crazy,
a shocker.
Right? No, I had like, maybe $1,000, $2,000 to last me the year.
Mm-hmm.
Or a couple months of the year. It's like, okay, well, let's not go crazy on games. Let's pick out the things that are really something that's gonna take you a while to get through, or a good value for the money that you spend. That's why I was such a subscriber of the 1 hour for $1 mentality.
What is your number one favorite thing about trophy hunting?
The sense of completion, I think, to be able to look back and say, I've done everything that the developers of the game put into it. And I feel like that's especially meaningful with like indie games or smaller projects where it's a team that doesn't necessarily expect all the attention in the world to be on their game. I want to be able to explore everything about it and make sure I've done at least most of what they've put into the game. And this just goes back to Hades again, why I loved Hades so much, is like everything they have to do in it really makes you appreciate just how much is in the game, how much writing they put in, how much dialogue they put in, how many different little small things there are to appreciate. And just being able to, like, at least in the case of most trophy lists, not all of them, to be able to look at a game and say, I think I've probably experienced everything that they wanted me to experience, and now I feel like I've both respected the game that they put out and feel fulfilled in having done everything I can in it.
If I were to make a deal with you right now on finishing or starting Crypt of the Necromancer, would you do it? If I were to do it too.
If you were to do it too, man.
That way we have that sort of inclusivity, man.
Let's struggle through it together.
Yeah, that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably help. I don't know. I would have to think about whether or not I'm really willing to start it. But
yeah. Pact. We need a pact.
It'd be nice to have someone else to be like, yo, can you believe this? Can you believe what they're really asking us to do in this game? How in the world are you going about it? Because I'm at a complete loss.
I'd be bitching so much to you, man.
Oh man, like most of it doesn't even look that bad, and then they have like the trophies of okay, play the game with every single character back to back and don't die with any of them, and also don't pick up items with any of them. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but okay. Thanks for putting that on my plate.
Don't worry, you can
Man.
thank Juicy later for that one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get back to you. I want to do it someday, and having that level of motivation to do it would certainly help. But I'm still also not sure if I'm just saying that or if I really want to do it.
You know, the more we have this conversation, I'm sort of not feeling it myself. I think I'm gonna back out. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's okay. Thank you, thank you for canceling it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any important medias that you have outside of streams?
Probably not as productive as I could be on these, but I do have a Twitter. I don't use it all that much because admittedly Twitter can be kind of toxic sometimes, and sometimes you don't need that in your life. But I have a Twitter, I have a YouTube that I sometimes post things to, but often I'm like not really sure what might belong there, and I end up not posting that much. I have my own Discord. I think that's probably the thing that I care the most about out of all the things I have, but I'm unfortunately absent on things like Instagram and TikTok because I don't even know where I would start on those. I don't think I quite have the social media mindset of here's how I influence people across all these different platforms and get attention from all these different platforms. A skill to work on for sure. I could just be using the time on other things, but like, what if this would really help expand reach? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm better off spending time thinking about ideas about the stream or just actually streaming, but I could be passing up good opportunities. I'm not really sure. That kind of goes back to of like I want to make sure I'm spending time with my friends and family outside of streams too. And like, well, I always want to be expanding this and growing this and working on this and making sure I get as much of a reach as I can. I don't want that to be at the expense of my personal life and my personal time either.
Yeah, it could also hinder your performance to connect with other people that actually matter versus the people that may potentially matter, but maybe not see you as someone who matters yet.
Exactly. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. I'd like being able to talk about these things. I think there's no shortage of topics or thoughts to be had about any of the topics you brought up. So I appreciate the ability to share them. Thank you.
That's all I got for you, Blow.
My biggest achievements are on my YouTube, the Super Meat Boy clears. If you want to watch and be amazed, it's a good thing to be amazed about. Or if you're trying to do it for yourself and you need to just see that one little thing that you're missing, it could help you a ton.
It's like looking at that level. When I first started it, I'm like, this is an absolute mess. How am I going to do level 18 of Cotton Alley Dark? And then
that's the one with all the floating meatball things, right?
Yep. And then I saw you do it, and I was like, this dude is an art project. Like, literally, he's creating a portrait on the screen where he's organizing everything to go. Like, I was blown away by you made it. And for anyone who doesn't know, like, there's enemies all around the screen, and you kind of have to maneuver yourself around the screen to make them all come together. And then when they all come together, they fly off the screen at the same time, and then you don't have to worry about them anymore. And like that to me was like mind blowing to be able to see and be like, I'm gonna copy Blaw. I hope he's not offended. I'm gonna copy exactly what he did.
I don't want anyone else to be struggling with that game any longer than they need to. Steal whatever you need to from whatever I do, please.
Yeah, that was I was just like, look, I don't care about Blaw's feelings right now. I'm gonna do this because I've been so upset with this game.
Yeah, I debated back and forth between ever making like guides on how to because I show everything I did obviously because it's on screen, but a lot of the time that's on like my 100th, 200th, 300th attempt on that level, and I'm not actively talking through what I'm doing anymore. So I think maybe at some point it'd be smart to make some sort of guide about how in the world you actually go through those levels. But I also was like, oh man, that game's like 10 years old at this point. Is anyone besides us select few really still going for it anymore?
That's true. It was great talking to you, and later this week I'm sure I'll see you in your stream or vice versa. Thanks for joining in, and have a great rest of your Saturday, man.
Thanks, dude. Thank you for being a great host, and I will catch you when I catch you. Have a good one.
All right, peace. Thank you guys all for joining. I appreciate my 2 hours that I spent with you here on the podcast. Blol is the reminder of this. that I appreciate every little being of who you are. Don't ever change. Be yourself, and continue connecting with everyone. See ya.
We the most popular stream on the platform. You want a satisfying stream? I'd say we are the norm. It's time to make it great. It's time to brainstorm. Now watch us juicy young wise. It's time to transform.